Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's NBA Betting with Fiddle. Today is Monday, October 27th. We have 11 NBA games to go over, every side, every total, a bunch of prop angles to hit, and so much more. I will answer any questions dropped in the chat. If you have a best bet, if you have something you want to share, if you have a question, throw it in the comments. We will hit it either while we're going over that game or at the end of the show. Before we get started, a few notes of housekeeping. First thing I want to say is, last night from the free newsletter, fiddlespicks.substack.com, Ian wrote our Sunday newsletter, and he does it every Sunday, which identifies schedule quirks in the NBA for the upcoming week. He looks at the schedule for the week ahead. Obviously, a schedule loss is kind of a known thing in the NBA, and we want to get ahead of some of these spots, know when they're coming, what are going to be buy points and sell points for certain teams throughout the week. So that link is in the description on the YouTube video and on the podcast feed, and linked in my bio on Twitter. It was one of the best newsletters Ian has ever contributed. It is going to be a staple of the season going forward. I suspect it becomes a weekly portion of people's handicap. So go check it out. It's completely free to subscribe to. fiddlespicks.substack.com. We already have people commenting in the chat, a great newsletter from Ian, from Steven. So thank you for also recognizing his amazing work. I thought it was fantastic. When he sent it over to me to send out, I was blown away. So great work by Ian. Check out schedule quirks for this upcoming week at fiddlespicks.substack.com. Second note, I got to apologize off the rip. If I'm exhausted today, if I'm super tired, this is the first time we have the Sunday crossover between NFL and NBA, where when Sunday night football ends, I reprocess all of my football information, statistics, numbers, power ranks. I do a lot of injury research. The market starts to open for the next week in the NFL. I like to get down on it in some NFL spots. And then on top of that, layer another on top of that, is the NBA 11-game slate for today. So I did not get to sleep until 2 a.m., woke back up on 5 a.m., and so if I'm screwing up my words, if I call the Phoenix Suns the Phoenix Pelicans today, like I did all of last season, throw me a bone. Third thing, as we go through the card today, all 11 games, every side in total, if something is mentioned as a pick or as a release that was released in our WHOP chat, you could also find that linked YouTube description, podcast description, and in my Twitter bio. And if you want to get access to all those picks in real time, usually the night before, including all that NFL stuff, join us in the WHOP. It is $100 a month. But if you listen to the show, somewhere in here today, we'll be dropping a promo code. So let's share the FanDuel odds screen. Let's zoom in on that a little bit. Let's start going through this. But of course, our guy Dylante in the chat said, hey team, and we know Dylante is pretty much always here. So he says he had to rush his cat to the ER this morning. Please say a quick prayer if you don't mind. Prayers for you and your cat, Dylante. This is near and dear to me because my best friend is another species. She just walked out of the room right behind me. And of course, that's my dog, Bronny. So I like animals more than humans. And so we will say a prayer and hold some thoughts for you and your cat and hope that everything turns out all right. This starts with the Orlando Magic going to Philadelphia to play the 76ers. We got early news on this card. We got some early injury updates from the Philadelphia side. I guess Philly saw that the NBA took them out of the national TV spotlight because of the past year's injury reporting drama. The NBA said, you went from one of the top teams we were going to feature last season to one of the bottom teams and got a top 3 harshest schedule reduction in national spotlight games. So this year they come out and they say, early, Paul George is out, Joel Embiid is out. This is the front end of a back-to-back for the 76ers, so Joel Embiid will play tomorrow. Of course, Ian also pointed that out in the newsletter. There are some nice buy points for the Philadelphia 76ers as we move through this week, because I think they got like Washington, Brooklyn, and Boston on deck this week. I think I just nailed that. And so expect Embiid to be active the rest of them. No other back-to-backs that I'm aware of, but this is the one to start with. And we know that Joel Embiid is out Line opened at 3.5, moves out to 5.5. That was even with the Joel Embiid news. So some clear action here on the Orlando Magic. Tough for me to buy into the Orlando Magic right now. Just not playing up to form. I thought everyone thought they were going to be a team that takes a step forward. Jalen Suggs not listed on the injury report here after he missed last game, which was a back-to-back for Orlando, where they lost to Atlanta and then lost to Chicago. So can Orlando dig themselves out of the mud here in Philadelphia? We will see. Early indications. Sharp side says the Magic. I am going to completely avoid this game. We do have a big card to get through, so let's move through this pretty quickly. No opinions here on the total for me either. Cavaliers at Detroit Pistons. Back-to-back game for both of these teams coming off of a win. So Cavaliers beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Dagger to my heart, playing a Cavaliers minus 5.5 spread yesterday, closed at 6.5. Excellent bet. Bad result. Up 18 late in the third. Squander the lead. Rebound and get that back to a 10-point lead. Squander the lead. All right, we giddy on up. We're getting back out. 7-point lead. Squander the fucking lead. So Cavs end up winning by 5 on my 5.5. And squander the bet is the best way to say it. Here, Cavaliers minus 2.5, minus 142 on the money line. Apparently, Donovan Mitchell gave an impassioned speech to the Detroit Pistons. To the Detroit Pistons. There you go. That's how you know I'm tired. Donovan Mitchell gives a impassioned speech to the Cleveland Cavaliers after the game about talking about those blown leads and saying how it was reminiscent of the playoffs and how they're going to take a step forward this season. That stuff can't happen. So now coming in to a back-to-back, we know Jared Allen always likes to play all 82. We know Evan Mobley, young, going to play. We know Donovan Mitchell going to play. The questions here are Lonzo Ball. He's probably going to miss this. He's doubtful. I definitely expect Lonzo is going to be out and not playing any back-to-backs this season. DeAndre Hunter and Karis LeVert. So DeAndre Hunter on the Cleveland side, an important shooting punch for them. But, of course, Dean Wade is healthy. Sam Merrill's healthy. So, Hunter's not going to, tip the scales too much. Maybe half a point. Karis LeVert, same thing on the other side. He missed yesterday's game. Does he come back and play today's game? That is to be determined. He is also dealing with, I believe, a hamstring injury. We have Garland, Strus, Jaden Ivey, all remaining out for this game. This was a Cavaliers play for me on the money line at minus 134, which was given out here at FanDuel this morning, about 3 hours ago in the WHOP chat. I will go through best available odds. There was a little bit of market resistance once it got out to about minus 150 on the Cavaliers. So maybe we're finding the right price here, or there's some people already pricing in DeAndre Hunter being out. I thought both ways at minus 134. It was good even if Hunter was out. Now at, plus at when it was minus 150, we're seeing FanDuel make a move right now on the Cavaliers. Best lines right now, minus 142 at DraftKings, minus 143 MGM, minus 140 Caesars, Bet 365, minus 140 as well. I am on the Cavaliers. Small play for me. I risked half a unit, and it brings home like 0.37 units, I believe is what it is. So yeah, small play on the money line here, but both teams on the back-to-back. Definitely think Cavs are a stronger team and a buy team in this market. Detroit has been a sell team for me, especially with integrating so many new pieces like Duncan Robinson. And if LeVert does play, how does that impact things? Asar Thompson and Ron Holland both looked very good yesterday. That was a little reminiscent of Houston's Amen Thompson and Tari Eason. So just like hounds on defense and some brotherly love. Let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks playing against the Chicago Bulls. Zombie Bulls look great this season, but here I am, maybe smart, maybe stupid, fading them again. Love the Hawks in the spot. We are seeing massive movement towards the over. That certainly makes a lot of sense. When these two teams played last year, the total was like opening at 247.5. So not drastic offseason changes to either team. Obviously, Atlanta was buyers in markets, so that's only going to add offense with getting Porzingis and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and getting rid of Clint Capella. but pace should be electric in this game. Atlanta Hawks opened as a 1.5 point dog. Riddle me that. I couldn't understand it. Atlanta was a clear buy as underdogs in this game. Sent out Atlanta Hawks plus 1.5. Sent out Atlanta Hawks on the money line at plus 100. Sent out over 237.5. So got a unit and a half sprinkled across this game on Hawks ATS, Hawks money line, and the over. Now that the over has moved 5 points, I would say that's probably your skip. If you're looking at sides and totals here, I'm going to say, sides and money lines, I'm going to say you could still probably buy in on Atlanta. We are still awaiting some injury news and illness news as it relates to Kristaps Porzingis, Zachary Risese, Jalen Johnson. I expect Johnson in. Risese, we shall see. Porzingis, I am expecting in. Kobe White and Zach Collin remain injured for the Bulls. So should have a healthy injury report. We are seeing the market start to indicate that we will. They are certainly saying that we will. Atlanta at minus 1.5, minus 108, I think is definitely still playable. Atlanta Hawks on the money line, minus 122 is still playable. This minus 1.5, minus 108 is a better price than this money line. Let me go through the market and start to point out what is their best odds and the most fair. It is here at FanDuel on the spread for the Hawks, and the money line also here at FanDuel. So best line you can get for this game right now, Atlanta Hawks minus 1.5, minus 108 VIG. If you still want to play the Hawks, which I kind of still support that, then we're going to go with Hawks minus 1.5. So I have half a unit on the money line at plus 100, a quarter unit on the spread at plus 1.5, minus 120, and then another 3/4 of a unit on the over 237.5. So 3/4 of a unit split up on Hawks in various ways and the over for a total 1.5 on this game. Boston Celtics play against the New Orleans Pelicans, also a back-to-back spot for the Pelicans. So part of the reason why I'm up till 2 a.m, and I'd say the major thing when getting ready to place bets for me right now in the NBA is just being updated with injury report, and shenanigans in injury reporting is already in midseason form. As Ian wrote in the newsletter last night, it is very true. We are like 3 days into the NBA season, and these injury reports look like March. Like, it is a level 10 jigsaw puzzle. It is like Sudoku on level hard. It is like the Friday New York Times crossword. Like, this shit is impossible to figure out. So for this game, is Jaylen Brown going to fucking play? I have no clue. So we will see how that goes. Early market indications this morning seems to say that Jaylen Brown might be a go. We're seeing these 2.5s on the Celtics get hit back the other way towards 1.5. Now, listen to this closely. Jaylen Brown is worth 3.2 points against the spread. Ian and I have prices, and they are accurate, for every player in the NBA worth more than 1 point. So when I say Jaylen Brown is worth 3.2 points against the spread, you can write that in pen in your notebook and hold on to that. He is dealing with hamstring reconditioning per the Celtics. Does he play on the second night of a road back-to-back with travel, coming off of a 41-point game against the Pistons in a loss? Celtics are now winless on the season. This is a difficult spot. The Pelicans are on 3 days rest and at home. So you have back-to-back road spot Celtics versus 3 days rested Pelicans. We're in New Orleans, and we have Jaylen Brown dealing with hamstring reconditioning. Now, the hammy is probably one where you don't play on the second night of a back-to-back if you're working yourself back from. If it's simply reconditioning, we know JB keeps himself in tip-top shape. He looks great. You look at Jokic right now, and you're like, yeah, Jokic looks 20 pounds fatter than normal. You look at Jaylen Brown, and you're like, he looks phenomenally in shape. So he might just be perfectly conditioned to still play. Like, he never loses play in shape. On the other end, I will say Zion to fucking dominate tonight is probably a good angle in prop market. Looking at his over 38.5 PRA is definitely a spot. I played New Orleans -2.5. There's -1.5s available. I felt this -2.5 was pricing Jaylen Brown 1 point out. So maybe it's closer to a pick 'em, or Pelicans a little bit -1, -105, -1.5 with Jaylen Brown playing. Closer to Pelicans -4, 4.5 with Jaylen Brown out. Maybe either of those are too extreme on a reaction if he's only worth 3.2 points. Of course, these numbers not as valuable as moving through like 5, 6, 7. So you also need to account for that. 3.2 is a general guideline when you actually need to care more about the value of each number and how many cents it is. So if moving through the 1 is 5.5, 6 cents, and moving through the 7 is 8.5 cents. Well, that's how you correlate how far a line should actually move. I like Pelicans, but that was obviously contingent on Jaylen Brown being out for this game. Now that we're seeing some kickback in the market, I really don't have much of any opinion on this at all. I would probably skip it altogether. I would not still tail Pelicans at this point. There's plenty of -1.5s. I will say Zion on the PRA, just to speak to that a little bit. If there's one thing the Pelicans struggle with having, it's a center in their rotation. They just went and signed DeAndre Jordan, of all people, out of free agency off the couch to come join the team. The Celtics have 0 front court. So if I'm Sam Hauser this morning, I'm waking up with the mightiest of colds, because is Missoula going to put me on Zion? Like, is it going to be Hugo Gonzalez? Who guards? Is it going to be Jaylen Brown? Who guards? Is it going to be Nemes Keita? There's literally nobody on this roster to guard Zion. There's few people in the league to guard Zion, but there's literally nobody on the Celtics. They're probably the most inept team at guarding Zion Williamson. If Jaylen Brown does play, his under on his points, because I don't suspect his minutes to be 34 minutes in this game, and he will have Herb Jones, Trey Murphy taking turns on him. So I would look Jaylen Brown under, Zion overs for this game as a way to curtail some of the Pelicans' looks. But I definitely did bet the Pelicans, betting into that early season asymmetry. And I felt, if Jaylen Brown's out for this game, then he just might be out every back-to-back this season moving forward. And you want to get ahead of that early. So I felt like, let me try and grab on that quickly. It looks to be slightly incorrect. Nets are playing against the Rockets. We are in H-Town. A 16.5 point spread. I would assume all the European rookies on the Nets are having a time in Houston. So it's probably their first time ever in Houston. I really don't have any opinion on this game. I think we really don't want to spend much time on Brooklyn at Houston with a 16.5 point spread. I'd say one of my flaws, or not one of my flaws. You could say one of my flaws. Let's use the word flaws. As a bettor, is being able to correctly bet into these super long spreads. Obviously, I simply want the CLV, right? So if there was 14.5s, now they're at 16.5. Like, when I see that, my inclination is just, I have no fucking clue. I'm going to avoid it. This could be a 17-point game late, and then nobody gives a shit, and whatever happens. It's going to be 2 bench units against each other for half the fourth quarter, and like, that's just a coin flip if you're at like a 15-point spread. I will say the Nets were 10.5 point dogs against the San Antonio Spurs. Was it yesterday? 2 days ago? And the Spurs were up 110-107 with like a minute and a half left. Spurs go on an 8-0 run to finish the game, end up winning by 11 and covering the spread. So if you're one of those people that's like, the players know the spreads, Spurs went out and covered it late. Toronto Raptors at the aforementioned San Antonio Spurs, -5.5 here. Play the Spurs -4.5 in the WHOP for half a unit. I will check if that is anywhere to be found. We are seeing 6s come up at circa 5 -112, 5.5 -112 here at FanDuel. If you still are a buyer on the Wemby Spurs taking that big leap this season, It is a little bit difficult to still play the 5.5s because moving through 5 is a very key number in the NBA. So tough to tail it at this point, but we are seeing 6s pop up at some sharp books. So 5.5, minus 112 here at FanDuel, minus 115 at Caesars. You can find minus 110s. So DraftKings, MGM, Bet365, Fanatics, if you want to bet $7.5. Bet Rivers, ESPN Bet, all have that at minus 110 on the San Antonio side. It is the second night of a back-to-back for Toronto. Both of these teams are groups that we're trying to be buyers of early in the season, one in the East, one in the West. Which way do you go in this game? Maybe neither, and you just play the over. I'm on the Spurs, minus 4.5. Thunder at the Mavericks. We just talked about the Mavericks. They beat the Raptors. I don't know if I mentioned it, but the Mavericks were the team that the Raptors played on the front end of that back-to-back yesterday. So now the Mavericks go on the road against the OKC Thunder. Injury report's going to be key for this one, so I will go ahead and share that with you guys right now. We have Chet Holmgren questionable, and he was questionable last game, and then he was upgraded close to tip. So are we going to see that again? Is he going to be out for this game? Obviously, going against the Mavericks is going to be one where Chet Holmgren's quite important because of how big they are. And Chet's kind of a cheat code going against another big team. Like, he's so integral going against another big team because he can space the floor and draw the other big away from the rim. So if a team like Houston, it was no surprise in the season opener that Chet was fucking amazing because they're playing Şengün and Steven Adams. And so you can't really draw Şengün too far from the rim defensively, right? And Chet's so able to do that. And obviously Steven Adams is going to stay near the rim and be a main rebounder and rim protector. But the ability to draw Şengün out towards the nail just creates so much flexibility for not only Chet for opportunities, but also for the rest of his team to get more access into the lane and into the paint against a team that is playing double big and trying to pack the paint. J-Dub injured, Caruso injured, Isaiah Joe injured. All of them have missed every game this season for OKC. So expect the Aaron Wiggins, Lou Dort, and AJ Mitchell rotation for the wings for OKC. They just plug and play, whoever's ready. Nikola Topic out with a torn testicle. And on the Maverick side, Ian, give me a thumbs up or an unsure with your hand. Daniel Gafford status, is he back to playing? Because I know he missed the most recent game. So do me a favor, quickly check on that. I don't think we've seen Gafford this season. So Gafford is going to be out as well. Cool. So that's where we are for this injury report. OKC minus 8.5. Cooper Flag going against a very difficult defense. How does he face up? I will say D'Angelo Russell played great yesterday. Like, had a really strong, it didn't shoot that efficient, but that's D'Lo for you. He did have a really good game in the Mavericks win over the Raptors. He had over 20 points. And so when you hear Jason Kidd say the Mavericks are shorthanded at point guard and then D'Angelo respond with that kind of game, expect D'Lo to get more burn. So I got no plays, side or total here. I would say it's difficult to look at D'Lo props with how tough this defense is going to be against him. Like, he's going to have Case and Wallace on him or SGA on him if he's going to be out there for good spurts. And Lou Dort is going to be on Cooper Flag. Chet is going to be on AD. Hartenstein will be on Lively. Like, the more I talk myself into it, OKC or nothing. It has been OKC in line movement, but I also think that's because we've learned some injury report stuff that favors OKC probably having Chet Holmgren. Phoenix Suns Utah Jazz under 234.5 was my play in this game. That felt like an obvious spot. Utah plays very big. Phoenix is trying to pride themselves on defense this year. So let's find best possible odds out here on the board. Man, there was 234 at Circa this morning, and I was hoping that would stay there, keep the board there. So Circa went straight from 234 to 232. almost 2 hours ago. So I did wake up early. Then I took Bronny on a nice hour walk, stepped away from the screens for a bit and came back, made myself some breakfast, hopped on here live and said, get down on it. To see Circa is being hit 2 points to the under in one move. So directly, that is a very respected bettor playing a big bet into that under. I still kind of like the under. I gotta say, I still do kind of like the under. We're everywhere else at 231.5 or lower. We got 230.5 showing up. We have 230s showing up. Fuck. 234 is a phenomenal line. And I played that when there was 234.5s where I didn't have access to bet. But 234 was unbelievable. Tap myself on the back for that. Okay. 232 at Circa, if you can play there. Obviously, it's not that widely available because they're not in too many states. But FanDuel has it here at -110. MGM has it -110. Caesars has it -110. DraftKings just moved it to 230.5 as well. So, yeah, I would say this Utah Jazz, Phoenix Suns, Buns versus A's. 2 booty jokes in one game. Let's hope for a booty scoring output. Under 231.5. Oh, they just locked it. News is hitting the screen. Let's look it up. What is hitting the screen? I haven't seen it come in yet. Ian, drop a breaking news in the chat is when we see that news come in, because this line just locked on us. Maybe FanDuel is watching this show and being like, yo, he is too good at hitting this under. No, it's re-showing here at 231.5. Booty scoring output, Suns Jazz. Nuggets versus the Timberwolves. There is certainly uncertainty on Anthony Edwards playing in this game. He left yesterday's game against the Indiana Pacers with a hamstring tightness. He would not return to the game. Is that because the Wolves knew it was the front end of a back-to-back and they were just like, better not risk it, we'll see you tomorrow? Or is that because they're going to miss some time? Early indications from Wolves beat writers was that he might be out for this game. So I played a Nuggets -5.5, thinking that Ant-Man might be out for this game. Anthony Edwards is worth 4 points against the spread in terms of line movement. He is worth 4 points. You could write that one down. I'm looking up for best odds. There's a 6 at Circa, 5.5 -112 here at FanDuel. DraftKings, that is the best available line. -115 MGM Caesars. So this is starting to shade towards Anthony Edwards being out with that hamstring tightness. Julius Randle went off against the Pacers. That kind of fitting against who the Pacers have. I mean, Siakam, not as big of a body to guard Julius Randle as the Nuggets have in Aaron Gordon. And so I would just expect the well-oiled kicked myself out of the chat. Ian's cracking up because I do that all the time. Me and Ian will be having a meeting and I just all of a sudden I just leave. If that ever happens, I'll be right back. Yeah, I think Nuggets -5.5 still possibly playable. I played at 5.5 -110, so it's only -112 now. So Nuggets are nothing for me in this spot as well. Hoping Anthony Edwards misses. Ant-Man, I hope you're back soon, but you could sit this one out, please and thank you. Golden State Warriors against the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis always plays Golden State well. However, this is a different Golden State team in terms of like early season buy-in, because you want to buy this older team early in the season while they just look like absolute contenders. On the flip side of this, Memphis has been really hurt to start the season. And so some of the guys they're playing are just absolute nobodies. Al Horford is out for this game, but that's okay because on the Memphis side, Zach Edey and Brandon Clark are out. So they're actually just starting Jock Landale, and going with like Santi Aldama, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jock Landale frontcourt. Not that scary on the opposite side. Ty Jerome out, Scottie Pippen Jr. out, Vince Williams out. So many guys out. DeAnthony Melton on the Warriors now. Where did he come from? Agent Zero, previously on Memphis. Why did Memphis have to get rid of Melton and they didn't want to re-sign him after he had a great playoffs? Because he was too often injured. Goes to Golden State, he's injured. So do like Warriors in this game, but I really feel that it's been too bought out. So there was 7.5, so it went to 8.5, it went to 9s. Missing that 8 is probably too big of a deal for me to still buy it. Also in the total, let's look at some of this movement. 239.5. It was at 237.5, popped to 239.5. This game is going to be very fast paced. You got to know Kuminga is definitely starting, especially with Al Horford out for this game. Obviously, Warriors have been starting Kuminga anyways, but certainly with Horford out, this is going to be a very fast-moving game. This is going to be a Quinton Post, Buddy Hield, Podziemski plays a lot of minutes. There's going to be three-point shooters up and down, and you know Memphis really likes to run. We got one more game to go over, Blazers-Lakers, and then we will hit the comments. Then I will hit you guys with a WHOP promo code if you are interested in signing up, because Portland Trailblazers was sent out at a pick'em -110. I was like, wait. Luka's definitely out. Austin Reeves just went for 50, but they're on the second leg of a back-to-back for the Lakers, and they're so hurt. I mean, no LeBron, no Luka. You call that cluster injuries at the point forward? How many teams in history have had cluster injuries at point forward? I mean, that's pretty impressive. Let's pull up injury report for this game. Marcus Smart also got hurt in this game. Gabe Vincent was seen in a walking boot after the game. So I actually had the news Gabe Vincent was out and then in a walking boot, and then Marcus Smart was out and then returned to the game. So I was like, I'm not sure but if Smart ends up feeling it worse the next day. You know, you sprain your ankle, you could still maybe give it a go for, you know, a quarter or two, and then that thing blows up like a balloon and you're out a week and a half, 2 weeks. So it's one of those kind of situations where I wasn't sure if Smart, I didn't have eyes on it, but I just knew he was out and then returned. Gabe Vincent was walking around in a walking boot. So like this was a tough spot. There's a lot of ball handlers out. It's going to be another heavy usage Austin Reeves game coming off of a 50, 11, and 9, 51 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, if I have that correctly. This Portland Trailblazers team is absolute hound dogs and the last team that you want to go up against when you're missing so many ball handlers. They will pressure you full court and they will make your life miserable. So I would expect Lakers turnovers to be quite high in this game. I would expect Portland to be probably still a buy at -2.5. Let's see. There's -110s at DraftKings, MGM, Caesars, Bet365. Here at FanDuel, it's -115. Circa has the -110 on that as well. There are some threes starting to pop up. ESPN bet -110 as well. So I'm Portland here for sure. There's been some over movement, but I'm a little bit scared about the Lakers' ability to score the ball in this game against this defense. DeAndre Ayton revenge game. I don't know if there's a such thing as a DeAndre Ayton revenge game, because this man is just complacent. So we're seeing some 227.5 start to pop up. It's definitely been over steam, but I'm personally not going to get there myself. Portland Trailblazers -2.5 would be the last spot I would consider. 11 games, and we just went through it in 35 minutes. Stellar performance today. Proud of myself for that one. We talked about prop angles as we went through the card. Jaylen Brown under, Zion over. Was there one more? I feel like there was one more and I'm just forgetting it. Okay, we're going to go through the comments real quick. If you dropped a question, or if you have any bet that you want me to quickly hit on, let me know. Slow-mo, SL12 Moo. points out -5.5, -104 at Novik. Definitely strongly advised. That's on the Nuggets. Hitting the exchanges. If you are betting these games, you could often find a better price on the exchanges. Of course, beware for some of the fees that sometimes you have to pay. So like on Kalshi, you buy 55 cents on the screen. If you're a buyer, you're going to pay a 3.5% fee. You go to your order book and you paid 57.5 cents on average. And you're like, fuck, it's not as good as it looked when I clicked it on the screen. So beware of the fees, but definitely searching on the exchanges is good. John says Golden State Warriors third quarter has always been money. That's because they have a great coach in Steve Kerr and some defensive players and smart players who can adjust really well. I will say I'm not the person that plays a third quarter situation pregame. Some people do. Like you could already play quarter spreads in some situations. They're not that liquid of markets. You can't really bet much on them. But there's people who say, "Oh, I want to get ahead of that." If Golden State takes a huge first half lead, like Memphis might be slightly favored in a third quarter, and then you're at minus CLV. But if you're coming out of this at halftime and you're tied, and then you're going to see a pricey third quarter situation. So quarter stuff is difficult. I'd rather stick to first quarters early and target rotation stuff, but check on NBA rotations to know how to play some of those live angles. You want to hit it when Curry, Draymond, Jimmy, they're all going to be in. And then you want to dump off of it at plus value, maybe try and middle it when they're all going to check out. Jai, how do you decide when it's worth it to lay the juice on a money line versus taking a thin spread like minus 1.5 or minus 2.5? There is spread to money line correlation charts. So it's literally a math game. I don't decide. I know the prices. At this point, they're pretty much memorized to me. So if I see, let's use the NFL example, a -3 should be minus 160. If a spread is -3, minus 110, but it's minus 154 on the money line, I'm playing the minus 154. Broncos right now, yesterday against the Cowboys. If it's minus 170, I'm playing the -3, minus 110. So there are spread money line conversions. You guys can look up those charts. Ian, we should probably make a chart and provide it to people in the WHOP so that they can have that as an additional resource. It's just a money line spread conversion. When I do give out the picks, I do note, hey, play this money line to 150 or pivot to spread 2.5 minus 110 or whatever. So there's direct math that shows based on number value which one should be better priced. Steven says, I really like the 76ers small ball without Embiid. It might be a tip bet if it steams too far. So definitely like how he says might be a tip bet. So he's saying at post. So it's like right at start time of the game. He might be looking towards the 76ers because this game has gone from Magic -3.5 to Magic 5.5 with some sixes showing up. So no rush to the board now. But if you're going to play anything and get the best possible number that the market ever offered on it, you ain't got any problem with me. Right? All I care about is best number. If you play best number on sides and totals and you consistently get best number, I don't care if it's resistance point, I don't care if it's early market, if you're consistently getting the best number that was ever available in the betting cycle between open and close on whatever side you want and paying, standard -110 juice on it, you will be a long-term winner. I feel very confident in saying that. Now, if you're betting into only flat lines, if it's 6 at posts across the board and you just take the 6, it might be break even or slightly lost, but I do expect these lines to bounce back after they've been hit too far one way. So having this kind of mentality, if it steams too far, very key words from Steven, very smart comment on his part. Steven saying Novig and forecasters 0% fees, ProfitX 1% fees. Like I mentioned, Kalshi over 3% fees. So, yep, that is a great thing to note. Appreciate that. Okay. That does it for all of the comments, questions, bets that we see coming in. Ian, star anything if you see. We have Brian saying he's on the Nuggets -5. That's a great bet. I am on Nuggets at 5.5. So, but you did better than me on that one. Like that. As long as it was played not at some alt -125. I will say, promo code for the WHOP, if you're interested in joining and you just spent 45 minutes with me on a Monday morning, I thank you for being here. Whether you are currently a member existing in the WHOP and you listen to the show, or whether you are thinking about joining up, you can enter promo code end of the show and get 50% off of a month. So that works for both existing users and new users. If you are going to spend 45 minutes and run through the show with me, the little thing that I can do back for you and show some appreciation and say, if you're interested in joining and getting all of the picks in real time, which we will show in 1 second, then use promo code end of the show and get 50% off a month. Thank you, Ian, for showing that. Let's go to the WHOP bets here. Cavaliers -134 on the money line. Half a unit risked not to win in that one. Just clarifying because it's simply on the graphic. It's not Ian's like waving his hand. My bad. No, Ian, that's totally fine. I'll remember to mention these things. That was half a unit risk to win 0.37. Atlanta Hawks +100. Ready for this one? That was half a unit risk to win half a unit. That's what a +100 is. Hawks +1.5 to win quarter unit. So we have a 3/4 of a unit to win situation on the Hawks +1.5 and money line. Hawks Bulls over 237.5. This was going to be a game that I have some eyes on tonight. Full unit and a half across this game. Pelicans -2.5, 3/4 of a unit. We are seeing that start to get hit back the other way, thinking Jaylen Brown might be in for this game. So that's going to hinge on Jaylen Brown's hamstring reconditioning. Spurs -4.5, half a unit. That is showing back up at a few spots, but it is juiced. But depending how you feel about Spurs, unless I missed any news, quickly check for news. But Spurs at 4.5 might still be actionable. Suns Jazz under 234.5 is a great spot. That is down to 231.5 on the board, and still probably a bet. Nuggets -5.5 on the board. Does Anthony Edwards play with his hamstring tightness? So this Pelicans and this Denver Nuggets are going to completely hinge on whether Jaylen Brown and Anthony Edwards play. If Jaylen Brown plays, maybe you look towards his under because he's going to have Herb Jones, Trey Murphy on him, and probably play less minutes on the second night of a road back-to-back. And the Portland Trailblazers at a pick'em -110 was just the money line right there. Half a unit on that one. It is 2.5 across the board and still might be playable. The amount of injuries the Lakers are dealing with on a back-to-back is definitely worth going for. TB says, how long is the promo code good for? It lasts, like, it will reduce the price 1 month. I will probably keep that promo code. There's no end in sight for when I'm going to remove that. I just forever feel that if you're going to spend 50 minutes with me on a Monday, on a Wednesday, on a Friday, Wednesdays I have Drew here, so sometimes we go for more than 50 minutes, trying to keep them around 45 this year. Then you deserve 50% off. So there's no end in sight for it right now. I will continue to announce it, and if I stop announcing it, it still might be active, but I'll mention if I'm going to stop it. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Remember, regardless of if you're going to sign up for the WHOP and use the 50% off code, go to fiddlespicks.substack.com and check out Ian's schedule quirks for this week in the NBA. You can find spots that we are surely going to talk about Wednesday or Friday when we come back live 11 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, next show. There's going to be spots where like, hey, we mentioned this as a schedule spot. It is a very high value resource to be getting that weekly email completely for free sent to you on Sunday nights, breaking down the schedule the week ahead in the NBA. Thank you to Ian. Thank you to everyone for watching. We will see you Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Some words from Patrick Beverley as we say, peace out.
Y'all subscribe to my podcast? Why y'all asking all these questions?
Don't forget to subscribe to the pod. And if you're a kid, listen to your parents. Listen to your parents.
Listen to your parents.
Subscribe to the pod.
Subscribe.
Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the pod, man.
Good, those are good.